Hi, my name is Luz-Aguilar, and this is my video presentation about working with parents in the academic field. Now, after having interviewed my parents briefly, these are the points I want to talk about my parent-teacher relation. Not all of them are going to be extensive, hence that my parents weren't as involved in my educational progress as I would have liked, but I will state the main points. So the first point is my parents' involvement in my education. As I mentioned before, there was barely any involvement. Because of my background being an immigrant child in the United States, there was a language barrier between my teachers and parents, and although they did have translators at times, they couldn't really find the motivation to enrich themselves in my academic progress. And because of this, my parents were quite distant from my teachers, and to say how they got along, they barely even talked with each other. It was very scarce, and it wasn't as I would have liked it to be, because nowadays I notice how some parents actually involve in their students' academic life, and that's something I feel that's very necessary for a child's educational development. So the following point, which is the influence this had in my training, in a way, it made me become very independent at a young age. I couldn't really depend on my parents for academic help because both my parents had the basic education. My mother just studied elementary school and my father just studied high school. So they weren't very literate in educational skills or how to do basic things. And because of this, as I mentioned already, I had to do everything by myself and I had to have the help from my teachers. Thankfully, my teachers did teach me well how to become an independent student, and I was an overachiever. I tried to do everything all perfect, and in a way, I did lack that emotional support and academic support from my parents. So, because of this, I have become too dependent on myself. I'm too shy to look for help for anybody else because of how my parents didn't get involved in my educational life. My tip for teachers who notice this lack of involvement from parents in their children's studies is to start initiation with the parents. At least make an attempt to communicate with them, to make them understand that you're trying to reach out and help your student. And keeping frequency and consistency in this, not just doing it one time in the beginning of the course. Keeping periodical communication is a good key for them to also notice that they're still there and you're still trying to help. And maybe booking parent conferences now and then, periodically. This way you can make maybe monthly or even weekly reports on how your students are doing, depending on how available the parents are. And I believe with this, students will feel their parents' involvement and maybe do better in courses. Thank you.